Behind The Lion Sleeps Tonight lies a story not of triumph, but of tragedy and injustice. This is the song that changed the music industry forever, but its creators were forgotten. Linda Solomon wasn't a star. He was a Zulu migrant worker with a dream. Linda had a gift, a soaring falsetto voice unlike anything people had ever heard before. It was raw, haunting, and deeply spiritual. In his spare time, he had a habit of singing randomly, and some of his friends were excited to join him. They eventually formed a music band called the Evening Birds. When a talent scout heard his voice, he was intrigued and decided to give him a chance. On a fateful day in 1939, inspiration struck up with Linda and the Evening Birds, and they recorded the song Mbube without any prior rehearsal. The song combined traditional Zulu musical components with Western techniques. This song was later released in South Africa, where it became extremely popular and elevated Linda to local celebrity status, influencing the evolution of the local genre. They also created trends with their coordinated dances and their matching suits. At first, the song was a local sensation, echoing through the townships and dance halls of South Africa. By 1949, the record had sold over 100,000 copies, and around the same time, it also had reached the United States. However, despite their obvious success, their lives as artists were hardly altered, but the song continued to grow in popularity throughout Europe. Alan Lomax, a prominent folk music historian, got interested in the song, even though record corporations in the United States were not. To him, the song could have remained an African folk tune. However, through his influence, the song became more than just music. It became a part of global pop culture. From television commercials to campfire sing-alongs, everybody knew the tune and was excited as they hummed and they danced to it. Lomax, being a businessman, refused to let the opportunity go to waste, so he made an offer to the group, and that became the beginning of their worst nightmare. Linda, without proper information, sold his rights to the song and as the owner of his parent record label for 10 shillings, not realizing what the deal meant. The recording was then sent to a record label in the United States, where it was later handed over to Pete Seeger of the folk group The Weavers. In 1951, they covered the song as Weemawe. Back in the States, Linda's melody quietly found its way into the vibrant nightclub and folk scenes, and it continued to grow in popularity till it topped the US charts. Not long after, in 1959, the Kingston Trio recorded their own version of the album live from The Hungry. This rendition closely followed the Weavers' interpretation, and the songwriting credit appeared as traditional, adapted, and arranged by Campbell Linda, a curious nod to Linda, but still far from proper recognition. Then came the transformational moment in 1961, when two RCA producers, Hugo Peretti and Luigi Creatore, saw the song's broader potential. They enlisted seasoned Brit-building songwriter George David Weiss to rework Weemawe. He preserved the irresistible chant, but added English voice lyrics starting with the now iconic lines, "In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight." And he reshaped it into a polished pop gem, retitled The Lion Sleeps Tonight. The Tokens recorded it, and though it was initially relegated to a B-side, the song unexpectedly soared to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming a global sensation. This version became an instant global hit, climbing the charts and dominating radio stations. Yet once again, Linda's name was still unrecognized. Almost nobody knew the man who had given the world this timeless melody. And yet, by the mid-2000s, the song had been covered by approximately 150 artists around the world. In 1959, while performing, Linda passed out. He was later diagnosed with kidney failure. Although it sounded superstitious, his family believed that his rivals in music had used enchantment against him. Linda later died in 1962, but a tombstone was not erected at his cemetery until 18 years later. Unfortunately, despite his hit song's widespread use and success, he stayed poor his entire life until he died. His wife and children were left with nothing. And the question is, will the world ever properly honor him? Well, then came Disney's The Lion King in 1994, and the song reached an entirely new generation. This was perhaps the biggest stage the song had ever seen, but still, the original creator remained in the shadows of history. Those who knew him wondered, would there ever be justice? In 2000, a South African journalist, Ryan Malan, dropped a bombshell in Rolling Stone revealing how Disney earned an estimated $15 million from The Lion King, while Linda's descendants received next to nothing. Eventually, questions arose about who truly owned the song. That's when Linda's family stepped forward to seek justice. This wasn't about one song. It became a symbol of how African creativity had been stolen, repackaged, and profited from without credit or compensation. Sadly, Linda had no legal rights as a Black South African during the pre-apartheid period of segregation. However, by the time Linda's family filed their complaint, apartheid had ended and South Africa had become a democratic country. After years of struggle, they finally won compensation for their legacy. Justice arrived too late for Linda, but his name now appears on credits, and his family receives royalties they never saw during his lifetime. At the same time, Linda's estate began receiving an annual payment of $3,000 from the Richmond organization. In February of 2006, the South African singer's descendants negotiated a court deal with Abilene Music Publishers, which owned the international rights and had licensed the song to Disney to place the song's proceeds into a trust. Today, Linda's story serves as a stark reminder of exploitation and the importance of honoring creators. A melody born in a dusty Johannesburg studio still roars around the world, and the lion's roar is finally credited and remembered. The world may have sung his song for decades without knowing it, but now his voice echoes louder than ever. Linda's melody outlived him, and his story continues to inspire all over the world. He was born in South Africa's Zulu heartland in 1909, and he never learned to read or write, but he did have a talent for songwriting. In his mid-20s, he relocated to Johannesburg, where he led an a cappella band that wowed crowds and local beer halls. He sang in a high soprano over 4-part harmony chants, establishing a style that would characterize an entire generation of Zulu music. This music inspired several of his compositions, including the most renowned Mbube. In Zulu, the word means lion. Linda had grown up working as a herder in the African hinterlands protecting animals. The major predator was a lion. This experience must have been the inspiration for the Mbube song. The Lion Sleeps Tonight has left a mixed legacy. It remains one of the most recognizable songs in the world. Children sing it at school. It's used at weddings, movies, and even in football stadiums. Although its worldwide commercial success made it a truly immortal pop epiphany, its history, especially Linda's alleged lack of fame and wealth during his lifetime, is today seen as an instance of racial exploitation. But it's comforting that justice was finally served. The 2020 movie Black is King was partially inspired by the song and Linda's narrative, which has been explored in a number of films. The journey of Mbube reminds us that history often hides its truest heroes in the shadows. So what other songs do you think real owners haven't gotten credit for? Let us know in the comments section down below. And while you're here, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.